heard of the so-called revolving door, where people go from government jobs into related high-paying private industry jobs, raising questions about the decisions they made while working on a public salary. Watchdogs say the dynamic is pervasive in the U.S. military. Dan Grazier is a former Marine and researcher at the Watchdog Project on Government Oversight. He co-authored a new report that names names. It's called Brass Parachutes. In short form, what would you say is the question you set out to answer in this new report?
We wanted to show through very detailed documentation about how many of these people go from a position of authority where they had decision-making abilities, and then they went to work with companies who had connections with their previous work.
Does that happen a lot?
Yes, it happens a lot. More often than I think a lot of people in positions of authority would like to acknowledge.
Do any anecdotes stand out?
The clearest example possible is the former Air Force Chief of Staff, Mark Welsh. While he was the Chief of Staff, the Air Force awarded the contract for the next generation bomber, the B-21, to Northrop Grumman. It was less than a year after he retired from the Air Force, and then go to work for the corporation that won that contract. Even more suspicious.
What does that tell you?
It definitely calls into question the process for awarding that contract. I think the thing that I always try to stress is that this impacts military effectiveness first and foremost, where the interests of the defense contractors do not always line up perfectly with what is most effective on the battlefield. There's Lieutenant General John Davis, United States Marine Corps. He was the Marine Corps' Deputy Commandant for Aviation. In that position, he was the top airman. He was the top flyer for the Marine Corps. He served in that position when the Marine Corps declared the F-35 initially operationally capable. And since he retired, he's gone to work with Rolls-Royce to help produce the F-135 engine for the F-35. There was also Rear Admiral Mark Kenney, United States Navy. He was the first director of the Navy's Irregular Warfare Office, and a year after he retired, he joined major Pentagon contractor Northrop Grumman as Vice President of Irregular Warfare Programs.
So, what would you say is the takeaway from what you learned?
It really calls into question a lot of decisions that are made, because if you are a general and you're working on a specific program, and then you go to work for a contractor that has something to do with that particular program that you were making decisions on in the service, it calls into question every decision that you made while you were in the service. Because what compromises did you have to make in order to set yourself up for that post-retirement position?
Grazier's report documented 645 cases of military officials departing and going on to work for big defense contractors like General Dynamics and Boeing.